I always believed something very simple but very important. I believe that the people who love you are the ones who will save you when you are hurt. I thought they would run to help you, hug you, call a doctor, do anything to keep you safe. But later, I learned I was wrong. The pain came suddenly like a punch from the inside. It felt like someone made a fist inside my chest and squeezed very hard. I could not breathe. My eyes started getting blurry like fog on a window. I reached out one shaking hand toward my sister. I whispered very softly, barely able to speak, "Please call 911. I thought she would help. I thought she cared. But she looked at me with a cold, angry face. She snapped loudly, "Stop pretending. You just want attention." Then she grabbed my phone before I could touch it. She slammed it face down on the table, so I could not use it. I felt my knees give up. I fell to the floor, hard, my cheek pressing against the cold wood. I could feel the floor. I could smell the dust. I could hear nothing except my own heartbeat struggling. There were 12 people in that room. Not one person called for help. Not one came to me. Not one even tried. My mother stood there looking at me like she did not know what to do. But she did nothing. She waited for my sister to speak first, like she always did. Everyone thought I was faking. They believed I wanted to stop reading because I wasn't getting anything. They all assumed I was jealous and dramatic. But they were wrong. They did not know the truth inside that envelope. They did not know a doctor would soon tell my sister 6 powerful words that changed everything. Have you ever felt alone even while surrounded by family? But before I continue, hit the subscribe button and tell me where are you watching this from, and what time of day is it? My name is Ismara Win. I am 36 years old. I work as an accountant. Most of my life I believed a very sweet but painful thought. If you love people enough, they will love you back someday. But I learned that sometimes love is not returned. Sometimes love is only given by one person and ignored by another. 2 weeks before the worst day of my life, I was sitting beside my father's bed at home. He was very sick with cancer. It hurt him a lot. He could not speak much because his voice was weak. But his eyes were sharp like shiny glass. He understood everything. He heard every word. He saw every person. I visited him 3 times a week or maybe more. When he got sicker, I went every day. I changed his sheets. I washed his face with warm clothes. I helped him eat soup when his hands shook. I read books to him for hours so he wouldn't feel lonely. His favorite book was by Hemingway. He liked when I read slowly and softly. I used my own money to buy his medicine. I missed work without pay so I could take care of him 24 hours a day. I did all that because I loved him. And because no one else would. My younger sister Isolde also came, but her visits were very different. She came only when our mother could see her. She held her phone high and took pictures while touching Dad's hand. She smiled sweetly only when the camera was pointing at her. She stayed maybe 20 or 30 minutes. Then she said she had somewhere important to go. Mother praised her every single time. "She is such a good daughter," Mom would say. "She sacrifices so much." But she did not see me staying for hours and hours. She did not see me crying quietly when Dad was in pain. She did not see me working without sleep. I felt invisible. Like a shadow. Like I was the daughter who helped but never mattered. I used to wonder why Mom loved Isolde more. Why did she give her everything? Why did she always protect her? Then I learned the truth. Isolde was born too early, 2 months early. She almost died when she was only 2 days old. Our mother held her tiny baby body and thought she might lose her forever. That fear lived for 30 years. So Mom gave Isolde everything. Money, gifts, attention, forgiveness, love. If Isolde broke a rule, Mom excused her. If Isolde hurt someone, Mom defended her. If Isolde lied, Mom believed her. Isolde grew up thinking the world owed her anything she wanted. And I grew up believing I was never important enough to worry about. But Dad saw me. He saw everything. One night, he held my hand tightly, stronger than I expected from a sick man. He whispered with his soft, tired voice. "I see everything, sweetheart. Everything." I did not understand then. I thought he was just being sweet. But later I learned he had discovered something about Isolde 6 months earlier. Something very big. Something very important. He started saving proof. Quietly. Secretly. Preparing for a fight no one told me about. Meanwhile, my body started failing. My chest hurt sometimes. It came and went like a wave. Breathing became hard when I walked upstairs. I woke up at night sweating and scared. My hands shook in the morning. Something felt wrong inside me. I told Mom once. She did not look up from her phone. She said, "You are just stressed. Stop thinking too much." So I stopped telling anyone. I ignored my pain and helped everyone else. I wish I had listened to my body. I wish someone had listened to me. Then came the day. The reading day. When I woke up that morning, the pain was already there. Heavy. Thick. Like a stone on my chest. My hands trembled while I brushed my hair. My heart beat too fast. Something felt deeply wrong. But I could not explain what or why. I drove to my parents' house slowly, breathing carefully. When I walked inside, the living room was filled with family. Aunts, uncles, cousins, even people I hadn't seen in years. Chairs were lined up neatly like a small church or a funeral. Everyone was dressed nicely and waiting. And Isolde, my sister, stood at the front beside the lawyer's empty chair. She looked like she was hosting a party. She smiled proudly. She welcomed people like she was already the new owner of everything. She arranged chairs. She accepted hugs. She acted perfect, graceful, pure. Everyone believed her. I sat quietly in a corner seat, far from the front. No one came over to me. No one asked if I was okay. They almost seemed to forget I existed. Across the room, my mother stood among relatives. They patted her hand and said how lucky she was to have a good daughter like Isolde. Mother smiled proudly. I sat in silence and listened. Every sentence felt like a cut on my heart. Ismara was not very close to her father. She barely visited. Isolde took care of everything. All lies. I wanted to stand up and shout. It was me. I stayed every night. I read to him. I cared for him. I wanted to pull out proof, my calendar, my receipts, my contact with doctors. But I stayed quiet, because that was what I always did. I swallowed my pain like a bitter stone. Everyone fell silent. The moment had come. Isolde stood tall with excitement. She believed everything in the will belonged to her. She thought she would get the house, the money, the land, everything. She was sure. But then, like lightning, a heavy fist slammed inside my chest. Not outside, inside. It squeezed painfully. My body froze. I gasped loudly. Air didn't come. My lungs felt trapped. My vision swirled like storm clouds. I clutched the arm of my chair so hard my fingers turned white. Cold sweat ran down my face. I could barely see the room. I tried to stand, but my legs were weak and soft like jelly. I reached my hand toward my mother, shaking like a frightened child. My voice was tiny, almost gone. Something's wrong. Please help, call 911. Everyone heard. Everyone saw. For one small moment, Mom stepped forward. I thought she would run to me. I thought she would grab her phone and hold me tight. But then Isolde's voice cut through the room like a knife. She said loudly, angrily, "Stop acting. You're pretending. You want attention because Dad left everything to me." She stormed toward me. Faster than I could move. She grabbed my phone from the table. She turned off the sound so no one could hear it ring. She slammed it down far away where I couldn't reach. Then she looked at our mother and said sharply, "Don't call anyone. She's faking. If she keeps acting, we'll delay the reading." And my mother listened. She didn't move. She didn't look for her phone. She didn't kneel beside me. She just stood still like a statue. The room became very quiet. No one spoke. No one helped me. Uncle Caius coughed awkwardly. Aunt Eloane looked at the floor. But still nobody moved. The pain got worse. It spread like fire inside my chest. My heart beat funny. Fast, 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 then slow, then too slow. I could feel life slipping through my fingers like sand. My legs collapsed completely. I fell to the ground. My cheek touched the cold wooden floor again. I could see shoes. Chair legs. Nothing else. My breathing sounded like a broken wind. My lips tingled like pins. I whispered one last sentence, barely sound at all. Dad, he knew, he saw. Did anyone hear me? I don't know. Time slowed. Maybe 1 minute passed. Maybe 2. No one touched me. No one bent down. No one cared. I lay there dying on the floor while my family stood still like frozen statues. I thought, is this how I leave this world? On the floor, unnoticed, unwanted? Then, someone else had seen everything. My father's neighbor, Mrs. Vespera, heard the arguing from her house next door. She walked over slowly and saw the door open. She stood there in silence, watching, realizing something was very wrong. She saw Isolde take my phone. She heard her say not to call for help. She saw me fall. She saw the room stay still like cold rocks. Unlike the others, she did not freeze. With shaking hands, she pulled out her phone. She dialed 911 quickly. She told them the address. She told them I could not breathe. She told them a woman was collapsing on the floor, and nobody was helping her. Then she rushed toward me. Her voice cut through the dead silence. "The ambulance is coming. Move aside." Her words were strong like a sword. Clear. Sharp. Brave. The last thing I remember before darkness swallowed me was the distant sound of sirens. Louder. Closer. Coming for me. For once someone cared. Mrs. Vespera guided the paramedics inside. Her eyes were fiery with anger. She pointed at my family. She was ready to tell them everything she saw, everything they ignored, everything they allowed to happen. The sirens were the last sound I heard. Then nothing. No sound. No light. No pain. Only dark, quiet space where time did not move and nothing hurt anymore. I floated like a feather in the black sky of nothingness. When I started waking up, everything felt strange. It was like I was somewhere between sleeping and being awake. I could hear little pieces of voices. Some sounded very serious and professional. They were saying numbers and medical words I didn't understand. I felt like I was floating or being lifted by invisible hands. Something pressed lightly against my face and helped me breathe. It felt scary but also safe at the same time. Over me, bright lights shone down. They were harsh and white, like the kind in a hospital, and I blinked a lot because they hurt my eyes. I tried to open my eyes all the way, but they wouldn't cooperate. I tried to talk, but something was covering my mouth, helping me breathe, so my words didn't come out. I couldn't understand what was happening, but later, I learned all about those first minutes after I collapsed. Mrs. Vespera, who had always been kind and careful, told me everything when I was strong enough to hear it. She had helped the paramedics find my parents' living room. My family was frozen in shock, standing in the same spot, not moving, not doing anything to help me. The paramedics rushed to me quickly. They checked my heartbeat and breathing. Their faces grew very serious. One of them looked around the room and asked loudly, "How long has she been down? Why didn't anyone call 911 right away?" Isolde, my sister, stepped forward. She always had a way of pretending to be worried and concerned. She had spent her whole life learning how to make herself look like she cared, even when she didn't. She opened her mouth, probably to make up an excuse for why she hadn't called for help immediately, but Mrs. Vespera stopped her right away. Her voice was calm but very strong. "That's not true. I was standing right there. I saw you take her phone. I heard you tell your mother not to call for help. I heard every word you said." The paramedics exchanged glances. One of them quickly wrote down everything. Isolde's face turned white. For the first time in her life, she couldn't lie her way out of something. There was a witness, and her words could not change what had happened. I don't remember the ambulance ride. I don't remember arriving at the hospital. My next clear memory was waking up in a hospital bed. Tubes were in my arms, and a steady beeping sound marked every heartbeat. The room was quiet. The lights were soft and dimmed. Sitting in a chair beside my bed was a doctor in blue scrubs. His name was Dr. Reeves. His eyes were kind, but I could tell he had seen a lot of people suffer. He explained what had happened to me in words I could understand. He said my heart had been under stress for months. My body had been sending warning signs, but I had ignored them because I was always busy taking care of everyone else. My heart episode at my parents' house had pushed my heart to its breaking point. He told me that if the paramedics had arrived even a few minutes later, I might not have survived. Then Dr. Reeves leaned closer to me and spoke in a quiet voice meant only for me. "I have written down everything about today. The delay in calling for help, the witness's story, everything. It is all in your medical file. If you ever need proof for anything, legal or not, it's there." I didn't fully understand what he meant at the time because I was still foggy from the medicine. I was also trying to process that I had almost died on my parents' living room floor while my family did nothing. But I thanked him anyway. I saw something in his eyes, a quiet anger that he held carefully, like a river under ice. Later, I learned what happened in the waiting room. Dr. Reeves found Isolde sitting with the other relatives. Her arms were crossed. Her foot was tapping impatiently. He asked her to step into the hallway with him. She probably thought he would give her an update about me. She probably expected that she could act worried and caring. In the hallway, Dr. Reeves looked her straight in the eyes. His voice was quiet but serious, the kind of serious that made you stop and listen. He said 6 words that would change everything Isolde thought about herself. "She nearly died because of you." Isolde opened her mouth to argue. She wanted to say something to explain herself, to tell him it wasn't her fault, but Dr. Reeves raised his hand. "I'm not interested in excuses," he said. "I'm telling you this so you understand what almost happened today. Every second counts in a heart emergency. Your sister's heart was failing while you stood there and did nothing. That is not drama. That is medicine." When they returned to the waiting area, Dr. Reeves spoke to the whole family. His voice was calm but very serious. Nobody dared interrupt him. When someone needs medical help, you listen. You call 911 immediately. What happened today should never happen to anyone. Later, when the hospital grew quiet and the hallways were empty, Mrs. Vespera came to sit beside my bed. She took my hand in hers. Her grip was gentle but firm. Her eyes were wet with tears, but she tried not to cry. "Your father asked me to watch over you," she said softly. "He knew this family, Ismara. He saw how they treated you, how they overlooked you, and how Isolde always came first. He said, 'Ismara is the only one who truly loved me. When I am gone, don't let them hurt her.'" She paused, squeezing my hand tightly. "But there is something else he wanted you to know. He said that when the will is read, you might be surprised. He had been watching and gathering evidence for months. He wanted to make sure his final wishes could not be challenged. He wanted to protect you even after he was gone." Tears ran down my face. My father, even when he was weak and dying, had been fighting for me. I had not even known there was a fight, but he fought anyway. I fell asleep that night holding Mrs. Vespera's hand, feeling a hope I hadn't felt in years. The next morning, the family lawyer came to my hospital room. He was carrying a sealed envelope and a thick folder. His face was serious but kind. "Your father knew this day might come," he said quietly. "He left specific instructions and evidence he wanted only you to see." The lawyer opened the envelope and handed me a letter from my father, along with a note explaining that the formal reading of the will would happen at his office after I was discharged. He wanted me to read his words alone first. I held the letter in my trembling hands and read it through tears that would not stop. My father's handwriting was shaky but clear. "Don't let them break your heart again, sweetheart. You were the daughter I was proud of. You were the only one who loved me for who I was, not for what I could give you. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you while I was alive, but I can protect you now." I pressed the letter to my chest and sobbed until a nurse came to check on me. A few days later, after I had regained enough strength, the formal will reading took place at the lawyer's office. The family gathered in a big room with a long wooden table and tall leather chairs. Isolde sat across from me, her posture confident, her face calm. She still believed she would get most of the inheritance because she had always told herself she was the good daughter. The lawyer cleared his throat and began to read. He said that my father had rewritten his will 1 month before he died. The room grew very quiet. Isolde's confident smile wavered but did not fall. Then the lawyer read the terms. "Almost everything, our house, all the investments, all the savings, went to me. Isolde and my mother would only receive the small, legally required minimum amount." Isolde jumped to her feet. Her face twisted with anger. "This is insane. He wasn't in his right mind. Everyone knows he has dementia." She looked at the rest of the family for support, hoping someone would side with her. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The lawyer remained calm. "Miss Wynne, your father knew you might say that," he said. "That's why there is more." He opened the thick folder he had brought. He explained that 6 months before his death, someone tried to steal $30,000 from his bank using a fake signature. The bank had investigated and discovered that the forgery was done by Isolde. The room went completely silent. I watched Isolde's confident face crumble like a mask falling away. She had nothing to say. The lawyer continued. My father had not confronted Isolde because he was afraid of what she might do. Instead, he spent the last 5 months of his life watching her and making sure his final wishes could not be challenged. He consulted 2 independent doctors to confirm his mind was clear. 3 witnesses watched him sign the will. Then the lawyer presented Mrs. Vespera's written statement. It was a detailed report of what happened the day I collapsed. Every word Isolde had said was false. The statement described how she had grabbed my phone and stopped anyone from calling for help. The lawyer said, "Your father built this case over 5 months, doctor's certificates, witness statements, the bank's report, and Mrs. Vespera's testimony. He wanted to make absolutely sure that his wishes could not be ignored. That is why this inheritance is yours." I sat there in stunned silence. Tears streamed down my face. My father, weak and dying, had spent his last months protecting me. Even when I did not know there was a fight, he fought for me. In the days that followed, my own lawyer sent formal letters to every family member. The terms of the will were clear. My father had made sure that everything he owned, everything he worked for, would be given to me. Isolde could no longer lie, cheat, or manipulate her way into taking what was mine. Even though I had been very sick, even though my heart had almost stopped, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: safety. My father had made a plan. My protector had been with him all along, even when he was gone. I was not alone. I was not forgotten. I was loved. And no one, not even Isolde, could take that away from me. If anyone tried to fight over the will, or tried to contact me without asking me first, I had a plan. I would give all the proof to the police and even share it with the news if I had to. There was a lot of proof. There was the fake signature, which someone had written pretending to be me. There was the bank's report showing that something fishy had happened. There was Mrs. Vespera's story about what she saw, and there were the hospital papers showing how long I had been very sick before anyone helped me. My lawyer explained something to me quietly. He said that Isolde hadn't just forgotten to call 911. She had done something worse. She had made it harder for me to get help. She took my phone away and told our mom not to call for help. My lawyer said that in most places, you don't have to help someone you don't know, like a stranger on the street. But stopping someone from getting emergency help is very serious. That is called interference. When you combine that with forgery, it could be a criminal case. If I wanted, I could have a very strong case to take her to court. I told my lawyer I would think about it because I wasn't ready to decide yet. Soon, everyone in our small town in Connecticut started talking. Things always spread fast in a small town. People heard about what had happened. Isolde's boss at the insurance company, where she had worked for 8 years, put her on leave while they investigated. The relatives who had always said she was the good daughter and criticized me suddenly stopped talking to her. The perfect reputation she had built, being the dutiful daughter, taking care of everyone, the one who always sacrificed herself, fell apart in a very short time. My mom called me that week. Her voice sounded different, broken in a way I had never heard before. "Ismara," she said, "Isolde told me not to help you." I just listened. My own daughter was on the floor, dying, and I just stood there. I'll never forgive myself. I didn't know what to say. My throat felt tight, my heart was pounding. I wasn't ready to forgive her either. I didn't know if I ever would. So I stayed quiet. 3 days later, there was a knock on my door. I opened it, and there was Isolde. She looked completely different. Her makeup was running down her face, her voice was shaking, and her hands were trembling. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. She looked like her whole world had fallen apart. She had come to beg for mercy, but I had already decided what I wanted, and it wasn't forgiveness. Isolde looked like a ghost of the woman she used to be. Her fancy clothes were wrinkled, her eyes were red from crying, and her hands were shaking. The confident sister who had grabbed my phone and told our mom to let me die was gone. Now she looked small, desperate, and broken. "Please, Ismara," she said, her voice breaking on every word. "I'm going to lose everything, my job, my reputation, everything I worked for. You're my sister. We're family. You have to forgive me. You have to make this stop." I stepped aside and let her come in. I pointed to the couch. She sat down, sitting on the edge like she might run away at any moment. I sat in a chair across from her. I looked at her for a long moment before I spoke. My voice was calm and steady. "I'm not going to press charges for the forgery," I said. "And I'm not going to give Mrs. Vespera's statement to the news." Isolde's face relaxed a little. She started to thank me and reached for my hand. But I wasn't done. I had rules, and I was going to make them very clear. "These are my conditions," I said. Her relief quickly changed to confusion. "You will go to real therapy," I told her. "Not just a few sessions. At least 6 months with a therapist who helps families with problems like ours. You will write down exactly what you did, the fake signature, the lies you told our relatives, and what you did while I was dying. And you will never contact me again unless I say it's okay. No calls, no texts, no coming to my door. If you break these rules, everything goes to the police, the fake signature, the hospital papers, Mrs. Vespera's statement, everything." Isolde's relief turned to anger in a heartbeat. "That's not fair," she cried. "After everything we've been through as sisters, you're just throwing me away? You're going to hold this over my head forever." Something inside me shifted. For 36 years, I had swallowed my anger to keep the peace. I had stayed quiet while Isolde took credit for my hard work. I smiled even when it hurt. I had learned to hide my feelings to make everyone happy. But I wasn't that person anymore. I had died on that living room floor, and a stronger person had woken up in the hospital. "Fair," I said, my voice sharp and steady. "You want to talk about fair? You saw me on the floor, struggling to breathe, turning blue, and you told Mom to let me die so you could delay a will reading. You took my phone so I couldn't save myself. You just stood there and said I was faking it. Don't talk to me about fair. These are my rules. Take them or leave them." She took them. She had no choice. Later, I learned what happened in her therapy sessions, not from Isolde, but from the therapist's notes. Isolde had to face the truth. She couldn't charm her way out or lie anymore. She had to sit with the truth of who she was and what she did. She had to look at herself honestly, without pretending. Finally, she told the therapist, "I always knew Ismara was the better person. Dad loved her more. I could see it in his eyes. Every time she walked into a room, he looked at her in a way he never looked at me. I hated her for it my whole life. I thought if I could take everything from her, it would prove that I mattered. I wanted to be loved too. But I wasn't trying to be better than her. I was just trying to destroy her because if I couldn't have what she had, I didn't want her to have it either. It wasn't about saying sorry or being better. It was naming the poison and bringing it out into the light. That was the start of a long road for Isolde, one she might never finish. A week later, my mom called. Her voice was broken and weak. "I know I don't deserve anything from you," she said. "I chose Isolde over you again and again. I just want you to know I'm sorry. If you never want to speak to me again, I'll understand." I stayed quiet for a long time. Memories flooded my mind. I remembered all the times I had been overlooked. I remembered all the times my hard work and love were ignored. I remembered all the times I had been invisible. Finally, I said softly, "I'm not ready to forgive you, Mom. I don't know if I ever will be. But I'm not closing the door forever. I need time. Years maybe. And I need you to respect that without pushing me, without guilt-tripping me, without making it about your pain." It wasn't reconciliation, not even a promise of it. But I gave my mom the possibility of a different future. The same possibility I refused to give Isolde. I knew my mom had made mistakes out of weakness, not malice. In the weeks after, I sold my old apartment and moved to a small cottage near Mrs. Vespera. She had saved my life, and she became my true family. We had Sunday dinners together. We took morning walks in the park. She saw me, valued me, and chose me for the first time in 36 years. With part of my inheritance, I set up a scholarship in my dad's name through the American Heart Association. It helps people who are sick and don't have insurance, people who might be ignored when they need help. Mrs. Vespera was the first to donate. At the small ceremony, I unveiled a memorial plaque I wrote for Thomas Andrew Wynne, my dad, who saw me and loved me anyway. 6 months later, I got a letter from Isolde. It was 4 pages long, full of explanations, memories, and pleas. I recognized her handwriting. I read the first paragraph, and then stopped. I folded the letter, put it in a drawer, and closed it. I didn't need her explanations. I didn't need my mom's guilt. I didn't even need the inheritance. What I needed and had been looking for 36 years was a life where I wasn't invisible, a family that chose me, and the knowledge that my dad truly saw and loved me. That was enough. That was everything. If Ismara's story touches your heart, know that you are not alone. Many people have felt invisible in their families. Many have given everything and gotten nothing in return. But your worth isn't decided by those who fail to see it. Their blindness does not make you less. You are not invisible. You are just around people who don't see you. Ismara didn't win because of money. She won because she stopped accepting less than she deserved. Forgiving doesn't mean letting someone hurt you again. Setting boundaries is not cruel, it's smart. Walking away from toxic people is not abandoning, it's survival. And she found the courage to build a life with people who actually chose her. If someone in your life makes you feel small or ignores your pain, remember. You can walk away. You can protect your peace. You can stop giving your heart to people who treat it carelessly. You can choose yourself. Choosing yourself is not selfish, it's self-respect. It's never too late. Ismara was 36, but this is true at 36, 56, or 76. Every day, you can decide to stop shrinking yourself to fit where you aren't valued. You can be your own family, protector, and champion.